G'day and welcome to the Off-Chain Podcast. Don here with you. Our guests today are Charlie Hu and Kevin He, the co-founders of Bitlayer, the first Bitcoin security equivalent layer 2 based on the BitVM paradigm. Is Bitcoin's DeFi summer here? We're excited to talk to Kevin and Charlie about how they're bringing EVM-compatible smart contracts architecture to Bitcoin and how it's unlocking Bitcoin's value in DeFi. Let's jump in. How did you each get started in Bitcoin? Can you give us a bit of an origin story of crypto generally or Bitcoin specifically? Maybe Charlie, let's start with you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot for having us. My journey was quite zigzagging. I never claim, I wouldn't claim in the Bitcoin ecosystem that I'm a massive big OG. I bought my first Bitcoin was 2012, but I didn't hold it, unfortunately. I never mined Bitcoin as a miner. I would say I was an East guy. I got involved with the Ethereum community in 2015. I got to know Polkadot in 2017. I started working with Polygon as in the ETH layer 2 side since 2021. But I orange peel myself. I moved back to Bitcoin ecosystem since last year, in the beginning of Ordinals, right? Before even BRC20 came out. I feel that's very exciting. We can able to write data on Bitcoin, and then eventually even do NFTs, native NFT on Bitcoin, right? And then all kind of fungible tokens, the fair launch and so on. So the whole Bitcoin journey, especially with Bitcoin ecosystem, now we're working on the Bitcoin layer 2 Bitlayer. It's quite zigzagging. We see some interesting narrative, interesting primitive across Bitcoin layer 1. When I met Domo and Cassie last year in September in the Ordinal Summit in Singapore, and when they were talking about the whole UTXO, a lot of garbage UTXO being generated every day, which is not sustainable for the Bitcoin in the long run. Especially they had a lot of debate because of BRC20 and the rules and so on. I was like, okay, I think we need to looking for scaling solution, either layer 2s or off chain. And I think when we saw the BitVM white paper came out, it gets me excited, without actually requiring a BIP or hard fork up. And on Bitcoin layer 1, we're able to potentially achieve the Bitcoin finality, Bitcoin verification, right? We eventually can lead to semi-secure, the equivalent of a native Bitcoin layer 2, right? So that's kind of the key technical vision we're working on Bitlayer. So that's kind of my long and a short version of journey of Bitcoin, experience.
Yeah, man, 2012, that's, you said you're not that OG, but 2012, it's pretty OG. Like that's fair back in the day. But you really came in essentially through the Ethereum kind of experience and once money started to become smart, etc., and then full circle back into the Bitcoin ecosystem. How about for you, Kevin? How'd you get started in Bitcoin or crypto more generally?
Yeah, I like to talk about my backgrounds. I joined the industry in 2017, and because it's a bull run. And when I read Bitcoin's white paper, it did shock me. In our payment system can work in this way, in simple, elegant, and nice way, neat way. So I joined the industry. From day one, I was building L1 and L2. Totally, I have built 4 EVM compatible chains, 2 zk rollup for Ethereum, 1 perp DEX, and another swap DEX. And I also built 1 MPC custody platforms for a Hong Kong listed company, which is before a part of Hobby Group, called New Hot Tech. And I joined Hobby Group in 2020, launched Hobby Ecosystem Chain with 4 million transactions a day and over 14 billion US dollar TVL. These numbers are really good at that time. Even for now, it's a very good number. And for us, for me, part of my role, I was leading 300 people in Hobby Group, in charging of the technical part of the blockchain team. And for me, part of my role is a director. Part of my role is as architect, and myself as a builder and user. And yeah, and I come to this industry because I read the white paper of Bitcoin, and now I'm back to Bitcoin ecosystem last year Q3. At that time, I was attending the IC meeting and DD meeting of ABCD Capital. I see a lot of BTC layer 2 projects come to pitch us, and I know the teams, know how they works, and know I think most of them are not making too much innovation. And so we just said, why not we just build something new, something fun for us. Then we start the journey of Bitlayer, and before BitVM proposal, we actually have several versions of the architecture designed, but we turn it down because we don't think it can make any difference. And finally, we come up with BitVM. We can solve some real problems, like make Bitcoin as a settlement layer. Then we officially start this project, and we just want to solve two major problems about verification, about trustless bridge. This is pretty much about my journey, and we love to share more progress and share more insights and share more technical details about the projects. Thank you.
Yeah, man. I mean, it sounds like you guys have been really involved in some very deep kind of ways. So you're the right two people to ask. Why do you think it's taken so long to get the infrastructure in place to build on Bitcoin? Has it just been like philosophical infighting? Has it been a technological barrier? Why do you think it's taken so long to get to the place where we're at now, where people, we have composability now?
Yeah, great question. I can take the first attempt to answer that. From the innovation point of view, we see every single technology has this kind of Gartner hype curve, right? There's a great innovation came not out of nowhere. The great innovation came when there's interesting demand. I think the Bitcoin in the early days never designed to be this mass adoption programmable layer. It was designed to be sound money, right? Ultra sound money, very first principle driven, proof of work, secure network, right? So the miners align with the network users to protect the chain to be very decentralized. And I think in the history of Bitcoin journey, we put that in our Bitlayer official website as well. There was multiple attempts and tried to scale Bitcoin, right? And also multiple special events happened. In the beginning was, I think before Ethereum came out, there was a Akala coin, right? And then Vitalik also was working and contributing on the Bitcoin Bitcoin community as a writer in the Bitcoin magazine, right? If we remember, before Vitalik started Ethereum, he wants to bring this composable and programmable layer on Bitcoin, which didn't work. The miners didn't align with that. There was certain trade-offs. He could achieve whatever he wants to achieve in Bitcoin. That was the reason he started Ethereum, right? And then in 2014, he wrote the white paper of Ethereum, the whole tooling, computing, everything. Later, after Ethereum started, I think in Bitcoin ecosystem, we have a few interesting attempts. I don't think they succeed. Otherwise, we could have the Bitcoin ecosystem way earlier. One is Rootstock, one is Stacks, right? Both of them are now fully EVM compatible. It's different, right? There's some smart contract layer on top of it. And it's sidechain. There's no Bitcoin finality. There's no Bitcoin equivalent security equivalent. It's not a real rope model, right? It's a sidechain. There's a different trust assumption, and I think there was no mass adoption in terms of ICO, in terms of token issuance, asset protocols, and also DeFi, Summer. None of them would exist, right? So they don't really have the ecosystem adoption. So what happened with Ethereum in the last 7 years, with all the interesting ecosystem adoption really drive the momentum, attract a lot of builders from all over the world and build things on Ethereum. But there's always been the desire, and there's always been interesting people, right, in the Lightning Network as well, and so on, right? Try to explore what we could do with Bitcoin, right? So I think the Taproot journey was a very interesting thing that moved the needle, that we actually can, inscribe natively, put some data on Bitcoin. That can be some of the NFTs, and can be the token tickers and so on. So generating asset on Bitcoin layer 1 is very exciting. That was the reason we had this whole inscription or BRC20 summer or ordinal summer, whatever we call this, right? And I categorize that as a Bitcoin ecosystem first half. We had an interesting product market fit. People who came from Ethereum or Solana, a different ecosystem, had a lot of fun inscribing things, creating assets on Bitcoin layer 1. They were doing quite a lot of degening. I was doing that myself as well. We were learning from each other what we could do on Bitcoin, which never happened before, right? That was like recursive inscription, all kinds of different BRC20 or SRC, or all kinds of asset protocol. We have even bitmap and many other things along the way. And then we start talking about rare assets, right? So those are interesting primitive. We call this primitive, like DeFi have primitive, right? This is a Bitcoin primitive. That happened last year in 2023. But after all this asset being generated on Bitcoin layer 1, and also that there was a lot of Bitcoin being burned, right, as gas fee, and a lot of garbage UTXO being generated on chain, people start questioning, are we going to keep doing that forever? Should Bitcoin be designed in a way like that? Or we should probably move a lot of the, capacity, right? And, empower Bitcoin ecosystem, but move to off-chain or maybe layer 2. So I think what it brings us interesting to explore that is how to achieve and build this programmable layer. Because Bitcoin layer 1 right now is supposed to be like this ultrasound money and a very secure network. And the whole bringing 1 billion users, mass adoption, and natively, do all kinds of transactions and an application on Bitcoin layer 1, it's a very uphill battle, right? I think it's very far away. We exploring the Bitcoin native layer 2 for that route because we saw without sacrificing too much on the Bitcoin security, we are able to 100x, cheaper on the gas fee, 100x, faster on the confirmation time, and basically bring more adoption. But on the layer 2 side, so that's kind of the route. Also, we are BVM compatible, right? So we can support seamlessly a lot of the Ethereum DeFi protocols, NFTs, all kinds of applications that are already battle tested, built in Ethereum world, and come over without actually reinvent the wheel, right? But actually tap into Bitcoin liquidity, Bitcoin ecosystem, and have the Bitcoin security eventually, right? With the state transition verified through the BitVM, through the Bitcoin verification we're working on. So I think that's the key technical breakthrough potentially we could deliver, and that can drive the adoption. So in a nutshell, in the history of Bitcoin, now we have 15 years already. There was multiple attempts. There was multiple small incremental innovation on the protocol layer, including the BIP on the Taproots, right? In 2021, right? I think those are very important, and that drive certain adoption. And I think potentially, let's don't depend on the BIP, right? We could do more based on the existing scripting language, right? With Bitcoin BitVM verification. So I think one very exciting step we also find out from the Hong Kong Bitcoin Asia conference, a lot of people start talking about Opcat, which we are also exploring that with our ecosystem partner, including Stockware, which is our investor, and a few other interesting teams like the Taproot Wizard.
Why should we be interested in Opcat for people who haven't heard about it?
So Opcat is a proposal proposed by multiple developer groups, especially the ones that kind of progressive people who wants to bring more programmable capabilities on the Bitcoin protocol on the layer 1 side. And with that, I think it will definitely change the whole dynamics on the Bitcoin layer 1, and it will bring more adoption. Obviously, that's on the under certain risks exposure of Bitcoin layer 1. So there's a lot of miners, a lot of the old school Bitcoiners actually is actually sharing concerns. So practically speaking, we're gonna see the interesting dynamics within the Bitcoin community. Certain people like this a lot. For example, the Taproot Wizard guys, we had a good time talking to them this last week in Hong Kong. And also a lot of the laser eyes who don't want to innovate in Bitcoin layer 1. They want to move things outside of Bitcoin layer 1 to other things, including layer 2. So that would be interesting thing, maybe move the needle, just like Taproot asset upgradation, which remains to be seen. For us, the good thing is we are building a Bitcoin layer 2, which is Bitcoin security equivalent, and without opcat requirement. So our solution is not dependent on the opcat approval and our hard fork. Whereas a few other solutions or technical route the other team choose dependent on this operation, which is very uncertain, right? You never know. Certain miners and Bitcoin holders and the communities within the ecosystem will choose one way or the other because it's a pros and cons. It's not like one solution fits for all. And because it's a very decentralized ecosystem, it's very democratized, right? The miners, the people who hold Bitcoin with computation power, they have the vote to say, not just one or two influencer who have a big mouth. So we keep the eyes open. We're engaging with the community among the people who have different opinions, and we just heads on building.
Alrighty, maybe for Kevin then, what do you think is going to be the thing that really activates? So we talked about maybe a Bitcoin DeFi summer. What's it going to take to go from where we're at right now to seeing the same kind of thing that we saw maybe in the EVM sphere back in 2021?
I think Charlie take this question very better.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Go for it, Charlie.
Sure.
I may focus on technical parts. Yeah, I like the technical question.
Yeah, no worries. We'll get technical in a second then.
Let's throw a technical question to him. I think for the DeFi side, I was early in the DeFi summer in 2020 as a degen, as an investor, as a product designer. Whatever happened with Ethereum DeFi definitely brought a lot of the financial background people. I also had a financial background in my master's degree. I studied behavioral finance. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a software engineer, although I self-learned a bit out of Python. So a lot of the Wall Street people in 2020 and 21 came into the Bitcoin space. Coming to the Web3 space, right? Because they were excited about the whole decentralized finance. And then the Bitcoin DeFi is a new narrative. And as an investor who I've been seeing multiple cycles in Web3, I always believe this thing, like in Web3, every single cycle, when we have a new narrative and new assets, it's always easier to get adopted and easier to have product market fit compared to the old one. So that's the kind of the interesting nature of Web3 space. So Bitcoin ecosystem is definitely a new narrative. People never call Bitcoin as an ecosystem because there was simply only payments, right? You can only do so much, very little, right? Whatever can be possible in Ethereum was not possible on Bitcoin. Now
Bitcoin was just Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, right? In 2012, in 2013, I remember in the Amsterdam Bitcoin meetup, the only topic people talk about is the mining, proof of work, right? You have Bitcoin, I have Bitcoin, that's it. There's not too much to talk about. Whereas Ethereum, especially after 2020, it just like endless our possibility. And the Ethereum has this interesting culture. They call themselves Infinity Garden, right? Because all the adoption, all the programmability applications are happening in Ethereum. A lot of innovation are happening in Ethereum all the time. Although there's also their own problem, right? The gas fee on Ethereum was very high. A lot of the, many other issues along the ways. And the Bitcoin DeFi space, I don't think it's mature. It's still very, very early. And as a Bitlayer, we're trying to build the infrastructure to facilitate a lot of the Bitcoin DeFi, bring the DeFi adoption on the Bitcoin layer 2 space. So the DeFi builders, they are interesting talking to us and essentially also deploying our chain for 3 reasons. One, they're interested on Bitcoin narrative, right? As I said, a new narrative is very important. Second, they're interested on Bitcoin liquidity. Bitcoin has much bigger market cap, over 1.5 trillion, hitting 2 trillion very soon, right? And we just finished our halving. So a lot of people have a high anticipation Bitcoin assets price can go up together with ecosystem value. So if we unlock, let's say 5 to 10% of existing idle liquidity that's been sitting in the cold wallets or other custody solution provider for many years without any yield, it's basically zero interesting asset, right? If we unlock some of them, and bring them to the Bitcoin DeFi space, allow people to generate a few yield, Bitcoin become like yield-bearing assets, and those liquidity enters all kinds of DeFi protocols. That would be very exciting, because if you want to build a solid one of the most important thing is you need to engage liquidity. It's like without liquidity, a lot of the things like looking good on the paper, right, on DeFi product design cannot work. Liquidity is a very important thing in the DeFi space. So that's a very good potential. I think it's a very good blue ocean to a lot of the DeFi builders to tap into the Bitcoin DeFi space. Whereas Ethereum has over 100 Ethereum layer 2 already. Liquidity fragmentation has been there almost like over 2 years. And there's a lot of things being built already. So it's kind of saturation, right? Whereas Bitcoin DeFi is still very new, Wild West with blue ocean. So we're seeing a lot of interesting DeFi builders entering the Bitcoin layer 2 space, like our chain as well.
Yeah, man. How are you thinking about preventing some of that liquidity dispersion across hundreds and hundreds of L2s? How are you guys thinking about that in terms of, because like you say, man, the liquidity in Bitcoin being 1.5 trillion sitting there, where people are thinking, how can I accrue more Bitcoin or trade Bitcoin, or stacking sats is kind of a phrase I've heard for 8 years now. But to be able to actually utilize some of that in DeFi protocols could be explosive really for the whole industry. How are you working towards not seeing that just spread out too thin over hundreds and hundreds of L2s and sidechains and whatnot? Or at least how are you thinking through that in terms of Bitlayer?
Can we want to take this?
I like to add more information from technical side.
Yeah.
For me, I start these projects after we analyze this. We do a lot of research on this BTC Layer 2 space. We think that most of the projects, even though can't find the right problem, not to say they are find the right solution. And then we come back to the definition for BTC Layer 2. According to the definition of Bitcoin Magazine, the foundation for BTC Layer 2 is to use Bitcoin as a settlement layer. And settlement layer means that we need to verify things on Bitcoin. And most of the projects are not going to solve this kind of problem, or they are pretending to be not see this kind of problem. And this ability to identify the real problem and find the right solution to the problem can be a very big differentiation for the projects. For us, we just want to solve the verification problem by using BitVM and by contributing to these projects. And now for us, we are actually a co-contributor for BitVM projects. We have contributed several articles for BitVM official projects, and also working with the leading partners of ZK industry of called Starwares, Bitlayer, which are a first round investor, to build an end-to-end solution of our second version main testnet. And we do have a lot of competitors here, but we think that we are very clear in our strategy about the competition. In the short term, we need, that is a TVL game, and we need a lot of liquidity support, and we do have a lot of liquidity support. That could be we will do very good in the TVL game, play very good in TVL game. In the middle term, we should build an ecosystem. So we are actually very seasoned team about ecosystem building, because we have already achieved the results by building Polygon, Hackles, and other blockchains. We just know how to build an ecosystem and how to make the builders of this ecosystem succeed. And we also, in the tokenomic part, we also give away half our tokens, which means that 50% of tokens to the developers based on two ranking. First is about the TVL, how much TVL they brought. Second is about how much transaction they make. And third, we can also add some more criteria, which can be the unique user active, how many active user we generate every day. About these rankings, we give away 50% of our tokens to incentivize and to subsidize our developers. In the long term, we think that people will getting more and more, the demand is getting more higher and higher. In first round, in the early time, people can be very degen. They just want to rush, want to have the high risk, but people will get more and more careful, and we care about the security. So this is why our technical route are going to build real native Bitlayer to get, and our security model will gradually evolve and will gradually evolve to keep us always in the top security level in this space, and to solve the real problems in this BTC Layer 2 sector. And we think that the innovate, and we don't want to wait for the innovation. We just want to be part of the innovation. So you think that the innovators and the project push the technology forward will win its marketplace, and we will win its marketplace, and will win the respect. And this is why the confidence come from.
Yeah,
Charlie, will you add more information?
Yeah, sure. I think, well, first of all, we have to manage the expectation, right? The whole mass adoption of Bitcoin ecosystem is still not there yet. It's still early stage. I was on the Twitter space before this interview. People were asking about this and that, and they have very high expectation. We're still early. Among many other builders, we are less than 1 year old. It seems, since we full-time working on the project. There's still a lot of things we are work in progress. We're very excited we are basically all very excited to deliver what we want to ship on the Bitcoin trust minimized bridge and Bitcoin verification. But as we said, it's early. A lot of things are still cutting corner. So while we talk about mass adoption of Bitcoin DeFi, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And not just on the protocol layer, which we're working on as a public chain, as a layer 2, but also on the middleware, right? The Web3 tooling side, it seems like Oracle protocol, like Subgraph, RPC, right? And many other stuff along the ways. And also security stuff, right? The on-chain security, like many other things along the way. So it took Ethereum many years. I think we can learn and stand on the giant's shoulder to speed up a lot of things and avoid the mistakes that are made already in the Ethereum world. But still, there's certain things we definitely need to learning by doing and going through this trial and error. On the product layer, right? All the application design across, DEXs, Bitcoin stablecoin protocol, restaking, lending, money market, credit market, option trading, all this kind of stuff, right? Many of that are already built and tested on Ethereum. I think we just need to find a way to bridge them, move them, maybe redesign in a more native way from the back end and the front end, right? And integrating with all the asset in Bitcoin ecosystem, right? Bitcoin has the native Bitcoin, all kinds of stable coins now, and plus all the BRC20 and now Runes assets, right? So a lot of asset protocol, we need to work on the compatible bridges and compatible, so those toolings, right, they're compatible and accept all these kind of new assets, and hopefully getting more users.
One of the things that I find, one question that I find comes up quite often when it comes to just BRC, when it comes to Bitcoin layer 2's composability isn't this just, can't we just do like a direct port over from Ethereum or EVM over into the Bitcoin ecosystem? And I know, Kevin, you said you've been working on the BitVM, paradigm as well. How is it different to Ethereum? Obviously, we can see a lot of the same kinds of dApps and similar kinds of ecosystems and even similar kinds of players that might be able to port over. But from a technological perspective, is it as easy as just flicking a switch and we're Ethereum and flick a switch and now we're on Bitcoin? Or, obviously there's much more to it than that. Why is there much more to it than that?
I don't think, maybe I can't get full of the question, meaning for BitVM, this name can be a little bit misunderstanding, even though the official team admits it actually is not a VM. It is call it a big prover and big verifier can be a better choice, and it is a component to make commitments and make the challenging just a component, and we use this component to verify the state transition on Bitcoin. This is about BitVM's general idea, and about the user experience and developer experience. The whole architect actually is a lower model. The lower model includes some a component called sequencer. The sequencer can support multiple VMs, multiple the popular VMs such as EVM and so not SVM. So for the user, we just think that to left the clear path or let the beautiful part for the developer and user, and let the dirty part and the difficult part for the platform builders like us. We just the builders of the dApps don't need to care anything about the big VM. They don't need to write codes on Bitcoin script. Let the platform Bitlayer, aka Bitlayer engineers do these things. And this is pretty much about the architecture. And to make a conclusion, a big VM is a component, off-chain component that can make off-chain component can make the challenging game on-chain. And the dApps will run on the execution environment of Bitlayer. if you support multiple VMs, including EVM and SVMs, that bring the user experience, a good user experience and developer experience.
So with this new infrastructure, composability, and in particular what you're doing with Bitlayer, what kinds of dApps and protocols and other kinds of ecosystems or projects are you hoping will come and build on Bitlayer?
I think the first wave is definitely, let me take this one first. Yeah. I think the first wave is definitely on the DeFi side. We're going to see an entire big suite of all kinds of features of on-chain Bitcoin financial products being built by all kinds of builders, and being eventually offered by the Bitcoin holders, right? Without actually selling the Bitcoin, they can put into staking and then generate all kinds of, offered all kinds of financial products, right? The structured products, the lending, and all kinds of things. That's, the whole DeFi product offering will become more and more sophisticated. There's a lot of incremental innovation, interesting financial design innovation, product design innovation will be there. That's the first wave. The second wave, we'll probably tap into the kind of the similar, all of those kind of use case, right? Like NFTs, the gated NFT, gated community, right? The PO apps, utility on NFTs and so on, right? That can be much cheaper, much easier to trade on layer 2. We could see that happening compared to Bitcoin layer 1, which is much more expensive, much slower on the confirmation. On the Bitcoin layer 2 side will be much cheaper and easier and faster. And then the third wave will be the things like the consumer-facing applications. So essentially, it's a high throughput kind of a roll-up model, right? And we could actually potentially see a lot of interesting gaming or other social, even deeping applications, right? We're talking to quite a lot of them. Some of them are interested to deploy on Bitlayer. Those are very early. Because they require a big user base. They require tapping into different liquidity pools. So I think it's like a gradual evolution. Once the DeFi being built, all kind of NFT being built with community, with user base, and the more consumer-facing application with kind of more mass adoption-oriented kind of application will be built and come over to the Bitcoin layer 2 space. We are seeing this trend already based on the conversation we are having with across like over hundreds of projects that potentially wants to deploy on Bitlayer.
Is that wave, like those successive waves, due to just the technological ease of implementing those things, or is it because there's already the liquidity there, so DeFi is just the easiest or most natural first solution, or is it the user base needs to increase? What do you think those three phases in particular about?
Maybe Kevin can add up. For my understanding and also observing the market, Bitcoin has never had any yield opportunity, right? It was never a yield-bearing assets. Until now, we open up this possibility, right? Without setting up Bitcoin, there's a yield-bearing possibility on that. Bitcoin staking was never, native Bitcoin staking was never there, right? All that kind of stuff. So the financial components, the whole trying to explore yield, trying to explore all kinds of financial usage in the Web3 world is always there, and that's kind of the product market fit in the first wave for sure. And once you have that, you generate interesting culture and interesting user base as a critical mass. The first critical mass is always important, and based on the observing, across many different ecosystems, and also because of Bitcoin culture as well. That's a key part. A lot of consumer-facing applications will be later stage. Once you have the critical mass, once you have liquidity, once you have a decent amount of community members in the ecosystem. So I think that's our prediction in terms of what kind of use cases in Bitcoin ecosystem. First wave, second wave, and third wave.
Yeah. Maybe for Kevin then, We've got a lot of founders and builders, innovators who listen to or watch the podcast. If someone's currently thinking about or is building in like Solana ecosystem or on Ethereum, what would be your pitch to say, oh, actually, you should really be thinking about Bitlayer and the Bitcoin ecosystem? What would you say to those kind of founders?
Yeah. For all the developers and even now still start struggling in other ecosystem, including Ethereum, we just want to say there will be a free space in Bitcoin ecosystem. And we had a lot of new liquidities, a lot of liquidity and asymmetric opportunity here. And second, we don't have any God here. Nobody told us what is right, what's wrong. So we did a really free space. And third, the builder spirits are coming back to Bitcoin. A few years ago, if you're telling people that you are writing Bitcoin script, wow, that's unacceptable, and that is just so boring. But now we are using Bitcoin script to build a ZK verifier. It make it so cool. So there are a lot of ZK acceleration engineers and the circuit writers and the ZK circuit writers are coming to Bitcoin ecosystem and to build Bitlayer projects for the important components. So building on Bitcoin is really cool. It's really cool again. So just come back to Bitcoin, back to where this industry arises from.
All right, good plug. Obviously, you're very excited about Bitlayer. What are the other things that you're excited about for the rest of 2024? We're post-halving now. We are, on the way to, Bitcoin DeFi summer, perhaps on the way. What are some of the things that you're most excited about right now and for maybe the foreseeable future for this year in particular?
I think on my side is definitely see more and more builders to really realize the asymmetric opportunities. I personally have access to a lot of Ethereum or proof of stake ecosystem people that are still working on that. The gap of mindshare and also they didn't realize the possibility. I think we want to just basically bring the builder back to Bitcoin ecosystem one after the other. That's very exciting. So it's like continuous exciting. It's not like one-off thing. Every single day, talking to all kinds of builders, 10 hours a day, even more. It's exciting in a continuous way. Obviously, some more major event kind of excitement. One will be to see the first wave of BitVM, right, verification being eventually built and launched, to see the real Bitcoin finality, right, Bitcoin verification through the challenge game. That's super exciting. It's the same excitement of ZK EVM on Ethereum that took almost 2 years and multiple teams in the best ZK team in the world to build it. And that's kind of drive us and keep us on the passion as well. We are, as a team, as a humble and small team, has been growing very fast, being kind of early in the BitVM community, working on this day and night, potentially be the first team to deliver that. That's very exciting. Yeah,
man. For you, Kevin, anything else you're particularly looking forward to? Or that's on your radar, maybe, that we haven't spoken about yet?
Yeah, I think we will hopefully have through BitVM paradigm. We think we can have end-to-end test BitVM testnets can solving the verification problems in the coming 2 or 3 months. And if things are getting good, hopefully we can have a beta mainnet in this year. It will be a huge infrastructure leap for the whole industry. And this is infra. And also we can see a lot of assets and assets protocol based on BTC layer 2 can be mature and can get a lot of attractions here. And from the market side, when there are a lot of new assets here, the Bitcoin ecosystem narrative will get stronger and stronger. Maybe it will be next wave of drive force for the bull run.
Good on. And one of the things that I like to ask all of our guests is, do you have any particularly contrarian views, or is there anything that you, as you view the even maybe Web3 landscape or Bitcoin or crypto landscape, anything that you think that nobody else thinks, or everything that, and is there anything that you think everybody generally seems to believe, but you actually don't think is true? Do you have any particularly contrarian views we should learn from?
Let me. I have a lot of contrarian views, but I want to touch people. And also there's also learning by doing. Those views can be wrong. You know, some proven to be right, some proven to be wrong as well. One contrarian view is people always trying to find Web 2.5 adoption. That happened in 2021. I saw a lot of them trying to combine the Web 2 and Web 3 all together. And I think there's very little product market fit from what we observed in the last 3 years. It might not even really be the case in this bull run either. I think that a lot of Web3 application will still be relatively Web3 native. And of course, gradually getting more and more users. Whereas a lot of the people were thinking about, let's just put all the existing Web 2 product on blockchain and just put it into Web 2.5.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to work. That's my opinion. There's some people might not agree with on that, but that's my opinion as a contrarian take.
Yeah, nice one. Anything from you, Kevin?
Yeah, I can find some controversial things, but I like to talk more about the idea always in my mind as a founder of some infrastructure projects. This is about mass adoption. If we need to achieve the mass adoption, we should care more about the real life. What is the most frequent used applications scenarios for the real life? It may be the payment things, and maybe we actually have a very good now in 2024. We actually have a very good foundation for a very good user experience. Payment transferring environments, including we can use MPC technology to solve the key phrases problem, and also we can have BTC layer 2 to achieve better experience and lower cost fee. So this is why we like to cooperate with the traditional or the partners that help us to reach the mass adoption. We like to work with the builders and like to work with the partners from the industry to promote this.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really, really appreciate it. If people want to find out more, or if people want to hear more from you, either personally or certainly if people want to find out about how to build on Bitlayer or just hear more about what you're doing, where can they find you online?
Check our website, bitlayer.org. Pretty straightforward. We share a lot of the things, the documentation on how to build on Bitlayer, the whole technical white paper, the bridge, tooling. It's all there. And we actually have multiple language, supported already, like Japanese, Vietnamese, Korean as well, to tap into different regional markets. And if you want to looking at what are the updates, are the news, the partnership announcement, all kind of exciting stuff in databases, check our Twitter, Bitlayer Labs on the Twitter. I think we have a lot of followers already, almost hitting 500,000. A lot of people who are excited about the ecosystem are learning from the Twitter. And we have a lot of announcements every day throughout ecosystem partners, throughout the events, throughout AMAs, and also some long articles. So stay tuned. The good news, we have some really exciting good news which is world first. It's upcoming in I think 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later I think during or after the consensus Austin, we're gonna announce that. So for the people who are interested to see what's happening, what's new in the Bitcoin ecosystem, and especially involved with Bitlayer, stay tuned.
Good on you guys. All the best for, again, that announcement and for the rest of this year in building, and looking forward to seeing Bitlayer grow and all the adoption that you've spoken about tonight materializing. Man, I think you are helping to lay that foundation for entire ecosystem. It's pretty exciting, and thanks for joining us on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk with you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Off Chain. We love bringing you great guests like Kevin and Charlie, and we hope we've inspired you to learn more about Web3, more about technology, more about the future. And as always, like and subscribe, and better yet, share this episode with a friend. Help us spread the word, and join us again next week for another exciting episode of Off Chain with me, Don. And until then, take care.